The chains around Taiho's wrists were cold and heavy. He walked with 30 other humans through the massive gates of the Imperial Palace. The building was so tall that he could not see where it ended. Purple light came from strange crystals on the walls. Everything looked expensive and frightening. The Calvari guards pushed the humans forward. These aliens were tall, almost 8 feet, with pale blue skin and silver eyes. Their faces showed no emotion. To them, humans were nothing. Just workers. Just tools. Taiho remembered his home on Earth. He remembered his small apartment, his morning coffee, his boring office job. That life ended 6 months ago when the Calvari ships came. The war lasted only 3 weeks. Humans had no chance against their technology. Now, the survivors were slaves across the galaxy. A Calvari official stood before them. He looked at each human like they were animals at a market. "You will work in this palace," he said in perfect but cold English. "You will clean. You will carry. You will obey. If you cause trouble, you will die. There are no second chances here." Taiho kept his eyes down. He had learned quickly that looking at a Calvari directly was dangerous. They saw it as a challenge. Many humans had died for such small mistakes. The official pointed at different humans and sent them to different areas. Kitchen, laundry, gardens. When he reached Taiho, he stopped. "This one is small," the official said. "What use is he?" A guard checked the tablet. He was a teacher on his planet. He knows how to read and write in several human languages. The official made a sound like a laugh. "A teacher? How useless. Send him to the East Wing. He can clean floors there. No one important goes to that area anyway." 2 guards grabbed Taiho and pulled him away from the group. They walked through long hallways with high ceilings. The palace was like a maze. Taiho tried to remember the turns, but there were too many. Finally, they reached a quiet area. The walls here were older. The lights were not as bright. It felt forgotten. "This is your area," one guard said. "Clean everything. A senior servant will bring you food once a day. Do not leave this wing. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not exist unless needed." They removed his chains and left him alone. Tae-Ho stood in the empty hallway. His heart was beating fast, but he forced himself to stay calm. He was alive. That was something. Many humans were not so lucky. He found cleaning supplies in a small room. Buckets, brushes, strange liquids that he assumed were soap. He started working. The floor was dusty. It was clear that no one had cleaned here for a long time. Hours passed. His back hurt. His knees were sore. But he kept working. Stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering everything he had lost. As the artificial light in the palace began to dim, signaling night, Taiho heard something. A small sound, like a tiny footstep. He stopped and listened. There it was again, coming from behind a large door at the end of the hallway. Taiho knew he should ignore it. He should not be curious. Curiosity killed humans in this place. But something about the sound made him feel strange. It sounded sad. He walked slowly toward the door. It was slightly open. He pushed it gently. Inside was a large room. It looked like it had once been beautiful, but now it was covered in dust and shadows. Old furniture sat under white sheets. Broken toys lay on the floor. And in the corner, sitting alone on a small bed, was a child. Taiho's breath caught in his throat. The child was small, maybe 4 or 5 years old. She had pale blue skin like the Calvari, but her eyes were different. They were golden like sunlight. She wore a simple white dress that was dirty and torn. Her silver hair was messy and uncombed. She looked up at him with those golden eyes. There was no fear in them, only emptiness. "Are you a new servant?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, like she was not used to speaking. Taeho did not know what to do. He had never seen a Calvary child before. He had not even known they had children like this. "Yes," he said carefully. "I cleaned this area now." The child nodded slowly. "No one comes here. They are afraid." "Afraid? Of what?" "Of me." Taeho looked at the small girl. She was tiny, fragile. What could possibly be scary about her? "Why would they be afraid of you?" he asked. The girl shrugged. "I do not know. They say I am wrong. They say I should not exist. The servants run away when they see me. Even my mother does not come." "Your mother?" "The Empress." Taeho felt his blood go cold. This child was the daughter of the Empress, the ruler of the entire Calvary Empire, the most powerful being in this part of the galaxy. And she was sitting alone in a forgotten room, covered in dust, looking like no one had cared for her in weeks. "I should go," Taeho said quickly. Being near this child was dangerous. If anyone found out, he would surely die. "Please," the girl said. Her voice cracked slightly. "Please do not run away. Everyone runs away." Taeho stopped at the door. He thought about his own life. He thought about his students back on Earth, little children who needed help and kindness. He had become a teacher because he wanted to help young people, because he believed every child deserved love. Was this child any different? She was an alien. Her mother had conquered his planet. Her people had killed millions of humans, but she was also just a small girl, alone, forgotten, scared. Taeho turned around slowly. "What is your name?" he asked. The girl looked surprised, like no one had asked her this in a very long time. "Yuna," she said. "My name is Yuna." "That is a beautiful name," Taeho said. "It sounds like a name from my planet." "Really?" For the first time, something like light appeared in her golden eyes. "What is your planet?" "Earth. It is very far from here." "Are there children on Earth?" "Yes, many children." "Do they play? Do they have friends?" Taeho felt his heart break a little. "Yes, they play. They have friends. They laugh and run and get dirty and eat too much candy." Yuna looked down at her hands. "I have never played. I do not have friends. I do not know what candy is." Taeho made a decision. It was probably a stupid decision. It might get him killed. But he could not walk away from this child. He walked back into the room and sat down on the floor in front of her. "Well," he said, "maybe I can tell you about it. Would you like to hear about Earth?" Yuna's eyes went wide. "You would talk to me? You are not afraid?" "Should I be afraid?" "Everyone else is. I am not everyone else." Yuna stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, she smiled. It was a tiny smile, barely there, like she had forgotten how to do it properly. "Please," she whispered, "tell me about Earth." And so Taeho began to talk. He told her about blue skies and green trees, about oceans that went on forever, about dogs and cats and birds, about ice cream and birthday parties, about schools where children learned together, about playgrounds where they ran and climbed and fell and laughed. Yuna listened to every word. Her golden eyes never left his face. She looked at him like he was telling her about magic. Time passed without Taeho noticing. The palace grew darker and quieter. Finally, he realized that he needed to stop. "I have to go," he said. "I need to finish cleaning before morning." Yuna's face fell. "Will you come back?" Taeho hesitated. Coming back was dangerous. If anyone found out that he was spending time with the princess, he would be executed. There was no doubt about it. But then he looked at her small face, at those golden eyes that held so much loneliness. "Yes," he said. "I will come back tomorrow. Promise?" It was such a human thing to say. Such a child thing to say. For a moment, Tejo forgot that she was an alien. She was just a kid who wanted someone to care. "I promise," he said. He left the room quietly. His mind was racing. What was he doing? Why was he risking his life for an alien child? But deep inside, he knew the answer. He was doing it because it was right. Because kindness should not have limits. Because even in the darkest places, someone had to bring light. That night, Tejo slept in a small corner of the East Wing. The floor was hard and cold. But for the first time since being captured, he felt something other than despair. He felt purposed up the next day. He cleaned as usual. He worked hard and kept his head down. When the senior servant brought his small meal of strange bread and water, she barely looked at him. He was invisible, just another human slave. But when night came, he walked back to that forgotten room. Yuna was waiting by the door. Her face lit up when she saw him. "You came back," she said. "You really came back. I promised, did I not?" Yuna nodded quickly. "Yes, you promised. Humans keep promises? The good ones do." Tejo sat down on the floor again. This time, Yuna sat closer to him. She still kept some distance, like she was not sure if she was allowed to be near him. "Can you tell me more about Earth?" she asked. "What would you like to know?" "Everything." And so Tejo talked again. He told her about snow and rain, about mountains and rivers, about the moon that glowed at night, about families who ate dinner together, about parents who read stories to their children before bed. "What is a story?" Yuna asked. "It is like a tale, something made up to teach or entertain." "Shall I tell you one?" Yuna nodded eagerly. Tejo thought for a moment. Then he began to tell her a story from his childhood. A simple story about a rabbit who wanted to reach the moon. It was silly and short, but Yuna listened like it was the most important thing she had ever heard. When he finished, she was silent for a moment. "The rabbit never gave up," she said softly. "Even when it was hard. That is the lesson. Never give up. Keep trying." Yuna looked at him with something new in her eyes. "Something like hope. Will you tell me more stories tomorrow?" Tejo smiled gently. "I will tell you as many story weeks passed in the Imperial Palace." Tejo continued his work during the day, cleaning the forgotten East Wing until the floors shined. The other servants ignored him. The guards barely noticed him. He was nothing to them. Just another human slave doing a job that no one cared about. But every night, when the palace grew quiet, Tejo walked to that room at the end of the hallway. And every night, Yuna was waiting for him. The little princess had changed. The first time Tejo met her, she was like a ghost. Empty eyes. Flat voice. No emotion. Now, she had started to become something else. Something alive. "You are late," Yuna said when Tejo entered the room one evening. "I am sorry. There was a lot of dust today. There is always dust." Tejo laughed softly. "That is true. There is always dust." Yuna patted the floor next to her. She had cleaned a small area and placed an old cushion there. It was her way of making a place for him. "Sit," she said. "I have been waiting to hear what happens to the rabbit." Over the past weeks, Tejo had told her many stories. Some were from books he remembered. Some were from movies. Some he made up on the spot. Yuna loved them all. She had never heard stories before. To her, every tale was a treasure. Tejo sat down on the cushion. Where did we stop? The rabbit had just met the wise owl. The owl told him that the moon was too far away, but the rabbit said he would find a way. Ah, yes. Well, the rabbit did not give up. He thought and thought. Then he had an idea. Yuna leaned forward. Her golden eyes were bright with interest. "What idea?" he decided to build a tower. A tower so tall that it would reach the moon. Is that possible? In stories, anything is possible. Yuna smiled. It was a real smile now, not the tiny, broken one from before. Taeho had watched that smile grow week by week. It was one of his greatest achievements. He continued the story, adding details and adventures. The rabbit gathered friends. A bird, a turtle, a kind deer. Together, they worked to build the tower. There were problems, of course. Storms knocked it down. Others laughed at them. But they never gave up. They are like a family, Yuna said suddenly. Taeho stopped. What do you mean? The rabbit and his friends. They help each other. They stay together even when things are hard. Is that not what families do? Yes, Taeho said quietly. That is exactly what families do. Yuna looked down at her small hands. I do not have a family. I have a mother, but she does not come to see me. She does not tell me stories. She does not sit with me. I am sorry, Yuna. Why does she not want me? It was a simple question, but it held so much pain. Taeho did not know the answer. He did not understand why the Empress would abandon her own child. Sometimes, he said carefully, adults have problems that children cannot understand. It does not mean you did anything wrong. It does not mean you are not worthy of love. Then why am I alone? Taeho reached out slowly. He was not sure if touching her was allowed. But she looked so sad, so small, that he could not help himself. He gently placed his hand on her head. Yuna froze. Her golden eyes went wide. Has no one ever done this before? Taeho asked. Yuna shook her head. No. What is it called? It is called patting. On Earth, adults do this to children to show them kindness, to show them that they are cared for. Yuna was very still. Then, slowly, she leaned into his touch. It feels warm, she whispered. I like it. Taeho felt tears building in his eyes. This child had never been patted on the head, never been hugged, never been shown basic love. What kind of life was that? Yuna, he said softly, you are not alone anymore. I am here. She looked up at him. But you are a servant. They could take you away. Maybe. But for now I am here. And I will keep coming back. Every night. Promise? Promise. Yuna smiled again. This time, it was bigger. Brighter days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. The bond between Taeho and Yuna grew stronger. Taeho taught her many things. He taught her how to play simple games. Rock, paper, scissors made her laugh for the first time. Hide and seek was impossible in one room, so they played a smaller version, hiding objects instead. She loved it. He taught her songs. Simple children's songs from Earth. Yuna had a pretty voice, though she was shy about using it. She learned the words quickly and often sang them to herself when she was alone. He taught her how to draw. They had no paper, so they used their fingers to draw in the dust on the floor. Yuna drew trees and birds and rabbits reaching for the moon. Her drawings were clumsy but full of heart. He even taught her how to dance. Not fancy dancing, just silly jumping and spinning that made them both laugh. It was probably the first time anyone had ever danced in the East Wing. One evening, after a particularly fun game of hiding objects, Yuna was sitting close to Taeho. Very close. She had slowly moved nearer over the months, until now she sat right beside him. Taeho, she said quietly. Yes? What do children on Earth call their parents? Well, they call their mother Mom or Mama. They call their father Dad or Papa. Appa, Yuna said suddenly. Taeho blinked. What? I heard that word. One of the human servants said it once. A long time ago, before they sent her away. She was crying and saying, Appa. What does it mean? Tahoe's heart clenched. It means father in my language. Well, in one of the languages from my part of Earth. Appa, Yuna repeated. She seemed to like how it sounded. It is a nice word. It is. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then, in a voice so small that Tahoe almost missed it, she said, "Can I call you Appa?" Tahoe stopped breathing. What? What did you say? Yuna looked up at him. Her golden eyes were filled with something fragile. Something scared but hopeful. You tell me stories. You play with me. You pat my head. You make me feel warm. Is that not what an Appa does? Yuna, I am just a servant. I am a human. If anyone found out, I know it is dangerous. I know I should not ask. But you are the only one who cares about me. But you are the only one who cares about me. You are the only one who makes me feel like I'm not wrong. You are the only one who loves me. She paused, and her voice broke slightly. Do you love me? Tahoe looked at this small alien girl. This child who had been abandoned and forgotten. This princess who had never known kindness until he came. She was not human. She was not his blood. She was technically his enemy, but none of that mattered in his heart. She was already his daughter. Yes, he said, his voice thick. I love you, Yuna. Tears appeared in Yuna's golden eyes. They were the first tears Tahoe had ever seen her cry. They rolled down her blue cheeks like tiny crystals. Then can I call you Appa? Please? Just when we are alone? Tahoe pulled her into a hug. It was the first time he had held her. She was so small in his arms, so fragile. But she held onto him tight, like he was the only solid thing in her world. Yes, he whispered. You can call me Appa. Appa, she said into his chest. My Appa. They stayed like that for a long time. The abandoned room was cold and dusty, but neither of them felt it. They had each other. That was all that mattered. From that night on, Yuna called him Appa whenever they were together. She said it often, like she was afraid the word might disappear if she did not use it enough. Appa, look at this. Appa, tell me a story. Appa, do you think I will ever see the moon? Tahoe answered every time. His heart was full in a way he had never expected. He had lost everything when the Kelvari took Earth, his home, his job, his freedom. But somehow, in this dark place, he had found something precious. He had found a daughter, but their happiness was fragile. Tahoe knew that. Every day was a risk. Every night could be their last. If anyone discovered what was happening, he would be executed. Yuna would probably be punished as well. So they were careful. They spoke softly. They watched the doors. They never left any sign that they had been together. But secrets have a way of coming out. And theirs was about to be tested. One evening, Tahoe arrived at the room later than usual. A guard had stopped him in the hallway, asking questions about his work. Tahoe had answered calmly, his heart pounding, certain that the guard knew something. But eventually, the guard let him go. When he entered the room, Yuna was not sitting on her bed. She was hiding in the corner, shaking. Yuna? What happened? Someone came, she whispered. A servant. She opened the door and saw the cushion. The clean floor. She looked around like she was searching for something. Tahoe felt fear wash over him. Did she see you? Yes, but she ran away before I could say anything. Like she always does. Did she say anything? Did she report it? I do not know. Tahoe quickly looked around the room. The cushion was obvious. So was the clean area. Anyone with eyes could see that someone had been taking care of this place. Taking care of Yuna. He took a deep breath. Panicking would not help. He needed to think. Maybe she will say nothing, he said slowly. Maybe she is too afraid of you to report it. But what if she does? Then we deal with it, together. Yuna ran to him and grabbed his hand. Her small fingers were cold. I do not want you to die, Appa. Please do not die. Tejo knelt down to look at her directly. Listen to me, Yuna. Whatever happens, I need you to be strong. Can you do that for me? I will try. Good. Now, let us continue as normal. If they were going to come for us, they would have done it already. We are safe for now. He was not sure if he believed his own words, but he needed to be strong for her. That was what fathers did. They spent the night telling stories, though the Mo. Empress Velra sat on her throne of black crystal. Her silver eyes looked out at the massive hall before her. Hundreds of officials, advisors, and nobles stood in perfect rows, waiting for her word. She was the most powerful being in this sector of the galaxy. Entire planets bowed to her. Billions of lives were hers to command, and yet she felt nothing. The report from the servant had been strange. Someone was caring for the child in the East Wing. Someone was cleaning the forgotten room. Someone was spending time with the princess. Velra had not thought about Yuna in months, perhaps longer. The child was a mistake, an accident. A daughter born from a moment of weakness that Velra had tried to forget. The girl's father had been a traitor, executed years ago. Yuna carried his blood, his strange golden eyes, his difference. The court whispered that Yuna was cursed, that she would bring bad luck to the Empire. Velra did not believe in curses, but she understood politics. Keeping Yuna hidden was easier than explaining her. Ignoring her was simpler than loving her. So she had sent the child to the East Wing, given her servants, forgotten about her. But now someone was paying attention to Yuna. Someone was caring for her. Why? High Advisor Drekanol, Velra said. A tall Kelvari stepped forward. His face was thin and sharp, like a blade. He had served the throne for decades, always watching, always planning. Yes, Your Majesty? The report about my daughter. You have read it? I have, Your Majesty. It seems someone has been visiting the princess regularly. The servant who reported it was too frightened to investigate further. Find out who it is. Drekanol bowed. It will be done. He left the throne room, and Velra returned to her thoughts. She did not know why she cared. The child meant nothing to her. But something about this situation bothered her. Something she could not name. She decided to see for herself. The next day, Velra walked through the palace toward the East Wing. Guards tried to follow her, but she dismissed them with a wave. She wanted to be alone for this. The East Wing was just as she remembered. Old, dusty, forgotten. She had not been here since she had first put Yuna in that room. That was years ago now. How old was the child? 5? 6? Velra was not sure. She stopped outside the door to Yuna's room. It was slightly open. She could hear something inside singing. Velra felt shock run through her body. Singing? Yuna did not sing. Yuna did not do anything. She was empty and quiet, like a ghost. That was what the servants always said. But this was definitely singing. A soft, sweet voice singing a strange melody. Words that Velra did not recognize. She pushed the door open silently and looked inside. Yuna was sitting on the floor. The room was cleaner than Velra had ever seen it. Dust had been swept away. Old furniture had been arranged neatly. Sunlight came through the window and touched Yuna's silver hair, making it glow, and Yuna was smiling. She was singing a song and moving her hands in some kind of pattern. Rock, paper, scissors, she was saying, though Velra did not understand what that meant. The child looked happy, genuinely happy. Velra had never seen her daughter happy. Something cold moved in the Empress's chest. It was not quite guilt. She did not allow herself to feel guilt, but it was something close to it. Yuna suddenly stopped singing. She looked up and saw her mother standing in the doorway. The change was immediate. The smile disappeared. The light in her golden eyes went out. She became small and scared, pulling her knees to her chest. "My mother," Una whispered. Velra stepped into the room. Her presence seemed to fill it, pushing all the warmth away. "You were singing," Velra said. It was not a question. Una nodded slowly. "Yes, mother. Who taught you that song?" Una's eyes flickered with something. Fear? Panic? She was hiding something. I taught myself." Velra knew a lie when she heard one. But she did not push. "Not yet. This room is clean," Velra said, looking around. "The servants have been doing their job?" "Yes, mother." Another lie. Velra could see it in the way Una looked away. "You seem different, child. What has changed?" Una was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was small. "Nothing, mother. Nothing has changed." Velra stared at her daughter. This was not the same child she had abandoned years ago. That child had been empty, hollow, a living ghost with no spirit. This child was different. There was something alive behind those golden eyes now. Something that had not been there before. Someone had given Una hope. And Velra needed to know who. "Very well," the Empress said. "I will visit again." She turned and left without another word. Behind her, Una let out a breath she had been holding. Her hands were shaking. That night, when Taiho came to the room, Una ran to him immediately. "Appa!" She came. Mother came. Taiho felt his heart drop. The Empress was here? Yes. She asked questions. About the room. About my singing. About why I was different. What did you tell her? I lied. I said I taught myself. I said nothing had changed. Taiho pulled Una into a hug. The child was trembling. "You did well," he said softly. "You did exactly right." But she knew Appa. I could see it in her eyes. She knew I was lying. Taiho closed his eyes. This was bad. Very bad. The Empress was investigating. It was only a matter of time before she discovered the truth. "We need to be more careful," he said. "We cannot meet as often. We cannot leave any signs. No." Una grabbed his shirt. "Please, Appa, do not leave me. Please. I am not leaving you. I just need to be careful. For both of us." Una looked up at him with those golden eyes. They were filled with tears. "I am scared," she admitted. "I know. I am scared too. But we will get through this. Together." They spent the night close together, talking quietly. Taiho told her stories, but his mind was elsewhere. He was thinking about escape. About hiding. About what would happen if they were caught. There was no escape from the Imperial Palace. He knew that. The security was too tight. There was nowhere to run. So they would have to be smarter. More careful. They would have to hope that the Empress lost interest. But Velra did not lose interest. Over the next few weeks, she visited the East Wing several times. Always unexpected. Always watching. She saw how the room was kept clean. She saw how Una had started to grow. She saw the small changes that someone was making in her daughter's life. Drekanal was also watching. He had set servants to spy on the East Wing. He had investigated everyone who worked there. One name kept appearing. Te-Ho. A human slave assigned to clean the East Wing. A former teacher from Earth. Harmless, according to all reports. But he was the only one who worked in that area. The only one who could have access to the princess. Drekanal brought his findings to the Empress. "A human," Velra said slowly. "You believe a human is the one caring for my daughter. It is the only explanation, Your Majesty. He is the only servant assigned to that wing. He has been there for months." Velra felt something strange. A human. one of the conquered species, the lowest of the low, and he had done what she could not. He had made Yuna happy. What should be done with him? Drakenel asked. The punishment for touching a member of the royal family is death. Velra was silent for a long moment. Not yet, she finally said. I want to see for myself. I want to understand. Your Majesty? Set a trap. The grand ceremony is in 2 weeks. Bring the child to it. Let us see what happens. Drakenel bowed. As you command. The grand ceremony was an important event. All the nobles of the empire would attend. It was a celebration of the Empress's power. A show of strength and unity. And Yuna would be there. For the first time in years, the hidden princess would be shown to the court. Velra did not know why she was doing this. She told herself it was to expose the human, to catch him and punish him for his crime. But deep inside, a small voice whispered something else. She wanted to see how her daughter would react. She wanted to know if the love the human had given Yuna was real. She wanted to understand what she had missed. The days passed quickly. Taeho knew something was wrong. There were more guards in the palace, more servants whispering. Something was happening. Then, 2 days before the grand ceremony, Yuna did not meet him at the usual time. The room was empty. Her bed was gone. Tae-Ho searched everywhere, panic rising in his chest. Where was she? What had happened? Finally, a senior servant grabbed his arm. The princess has been moved, she said coldly. She is to attend the grand ceremony. Your services in the East Wing are no longer needed. Where is she? Is she safe? The servant looked at him with disgust. Why would a human care about the princess? Stay in your place, slave. Forget about the East Wing. Forget about everything. She walked away, leaving Taeho standing alone in the empty hallway. His heart was breaking. Yuna was gone. He could not reach her, could not protect her, but he was not going to give up. The grand ceremony was in 2 days. He did not know how, but he would find a way to be there. He would find a way to see his daughter, whatever it took. The grand ceremony was the biggest event of the year. The great hall of the palace was filled with thousands of nobles, officials, and dignitaries from across the empire. Banners of purple and silver hung from the high ceiling. Music played from somewhere unseen. Everyone wore their finest clothes, covered in jewels and expensive fabrics. And in the center of it all, on her throne of black crystal, sat Empress Velra. She looked out at the crowd with cold silver eyes. This was her moment of power. The entire empire was watching. They would see her strength. They would remember their place. But tonight, Velra had a different plan. In a small room behind the throne, Yuna sat alone. She wore a beautiful dress for the first time in her life. White silk with golden thread. Her silver hair had been brushed and styled. Servants had cleaned her face and hands until she was presentable. She looked like a princess, but inside, she was terrified. They had taken her from the East Wing without warning. They had put her in a cold room and told her to wait. No one would tell her what was happening. No one would tell her where Taeho was. She wanted her Appa. She needed him, but he was not there. The door opened, and High Advisor Drakenel stepped in. His face was cruel and satisfied. The ceremony is about to begin, he said. You will be presented to the court. You will stand before your mother. You will speak only when spoken to. Do you understand? Yuna nodded silently. Good. If you embarrass the Empress in any way, there will be consequences. Severe consequences. He grabbed her arm and pulled her out of the room. The walk to the great hall was long. Yuna's legs were shaking. The noise of the crowd grew louder with each step. When they finally reached the entrance, she could see thousands of faces staring back at her. They all looked at her with suspicion, some with disgust. She was the hidden princess. The one no one was supposed to know about. The mistake. Drekenel pushed her forward. She walked slowly across the great hall, her small feet moving one step at a time. The crowd parted to let her through. Whispers followed her like shadows. Finally, she reached the base of the throne. Empress Velra looked down at her. "Kneel," Velra commanded. Yuna knelt. The cold floor hurt her knees. "Lords and ladies of the Empire," Velra said loudly, "many of you have heard rumors of this child. My daughter, born from a traitor's blood, hidden away for years. Today, I bring her before you." The crowd murmured. Many looked shocked. They had known the rumors were true, but seeing the proof was different. "She is strange," Velra continued. "Different. But she is still of royal blood. And so I have decided to test her, to see if she is worthy of the name she carries." Yuna's heart was beating so fast that she thought it might break. "Child," Velra said, her voice echoing through the hall. "Look at me." Yuna raised her golden eyes to meet her mother's silver ones. "Tell me, daughter, in all the years you have lived in this palace, who has cared for you? Who has shown you kindness? Who has been like a father to you?" The question hit Yuna like lightning. She understood now. This was a trap. Her mother knew. Her mother had found out about Tay-Ho. Her eyes searched the crowd desperately. Where was he? Was he here? Was he safe? And then she saw him in the back of the hall. Among the servants standing against the wall was Tay-Ho. He was wearing the simple gray clothes of a slave. His face was pale with fear, but his eyes were on her. Only her. He shook his head slightly. "A warning. Do not look at me. Do not give us away." But it was too late. Yuna had already seen him, and her heart made the decision before her mind could stop it. "Answer me, child," Velra said coldly. "Who is your father?" Yuna stood up slowly. Her legs were no longer shaking. Something had changed inside her. She was not scared anymore. She was not going to lie anymore. "My father," she said clearly, "is the kindest person in the universe. He told me stories when no one else would speak to me. He played with me when no one else would touch me. He held me when I cried. He made me feel loved when everyone else made me feel wrong." The crowd was silent. Every eye was on the small princess. "He is not Kalvari," Yuna continued. "He is human. But he is more of a father than anyone of royal blood has ever been to me." And then, before anyone could stop her, Yuna ran. She ran across the great hall, past the shocked nobles, past the frozen guards. She ran toward the servants standing against the wall. She ran toward the only person who had ever loved her. She ran straight into Tay-Ho's arms. "Appa," she cried, holding on to him with all her strength. "I found you! I found you!" Tay-Ho held her tight. Tears were running down his face. He knew this was the end. He knew they would kill him now. But he did not care. His daughter was in his arms. "I am here," he whispered. "I am here, Yuna." The hall exploded into chaos. Guards rushed forward. Nobles shouted in outrage. A human? A slave? The princess was calling a human her father? "Arrest him," Drekenel screamed. "Arrest the human immediately." Guards grabbed Tay-Ho, trying to pull him away. But Yuna would not let go. She screamed and kicked, holding on to him with desperate strength. "No, do not take him. Please, he's my appa. He's my appa." Velra watched from her throne. She had expected this. She had set this trap herself. She had known the human was the one caring for her daughter. She had known Yuna would reveal him, but she had not expected this. She had not expected to see such love. Yuna was fighting like a wild animal, clinging to the human with everything she had. And the human was holding her back, trying to protect her even as the guards beat him. "Do not hurt her," Tay-Ho shouted. Please, do not hurt her. I will go quietly. Just do not hurt my daughter. His daughter. He called Yuna his daughter. Something moved deep inside Velra. Something she had buried long ago. Something that felt strangely like pain. Stop, she said that no one heard her. The chaos was too loud. Stop. Her voice echoed through the hall like thunder. Everyone froze. Guards, nobles, servants, even Drekenel. Velra stood up from her throne and walked down the steps. The crowd parted before her. She moved like death itself, cold and unstoppable. She stopped in front of Tejo and Yuna. Yuna was still holding on to Tejo, her face buried in his chest. She was crying. The human was bleeding from his mouth where the guards had hit him, but his arms were still wrapped around the child. They looked at the Empress with fear, but also with defiance. They would not let go of each other. Not for anyone. Velra looked at them for a long moment. The entire hall held its breath. You are the one, Velra said to Tejo. You are the one who has been caring for my daughter. Tejo met her eyes directly. It was a dangerous thing to do, but he was beyond fear now. Yes, he said. I am. You know the punishment for touching a member of the royal family, for daring to take the place of a royal father. It is death, I know, and yet you did it anyway. Why? Tejo looked down at Yuna. She was looking up at him, tears streaming down her blue face. Because she needed someone, he said simply. Because she was alone. Because no one else cared. I am her mother. I should have cared. Then why did you not? The question hit Velra like a blow. It was not accusation. It was not anger. It was just a simple, honest question. Why did you not care? She had no answer. Drekenel stepped forward. Your Majesty, this human has insulted the throne. He has contaminated the princess with his inferior presence. The punishment must be carried out. Velra raised her hand for silence. She looked at Yuna again. Really looked at her. Not as a mistake to be hidden. Not as a problem to be ignored. But as a child. Her child. Yuna's golden eyes were filled with fear and love. Fear for what would happen to Tejo. Love for the human who had saved her from loneliness. This was what a daughter should look like. Velra realized. Happy. Loved. Alive. And she had nothing to do with it. A human slave had done what the most powerful being in the galaxy could not. Take the human to the holding cells, Velra said. Do not harm him further. And the execution, Your Majesty? Drekenel asked eagerly. Velra was silent. Then she turned and walked back to her throne. I will decide in the morning. This ceremony is over. Everyone leave. The crowd began to disperse, whispering furiously. Drekenel looked disappointed, but bowed and directed the guards to take Tejo away. No. Yuna screamed, trying to follow. Appa! Appa! A guard held her back. Tejo looked at her one last time as they dragged him away. Be strong, he said. Remember what I taught you. Be strong, Yuna. Then he was gone. Yuna collapsed to the floor, crying. The great hall emptied until only she and the Empress remained. Velra looked at her daughter. So small, so broken. Crying for a human slave. What had she done? What had she let happen? The Empress walked down from her throne and stood over the weeping child. Get up, she said. Yun looked up at her with tear-filled eyes. Are you going to kill him? Velra did not answer. Please, Yuna begged. Please do not kill him. I will do anything. I will be good. I will stay hidden forever. Just please do not kill my appa. My appa. The words echoed in Velra's mind long after she walked away. That night, she did not sleep. The holding cell was cold and dark. Tejo sat on the stone floor with his back against the wall. His body hurt from the beating, but his heart hurt more. Yuna, his little Yuna. She was out there somewhere, scared and alone. He had promised to always come back to her. He had promised to protect her. And now he was here, waiting to die. The guards had told him that the execution would be in the morning. Traditional Kelvari punishment. Quick and painful. Tejo closed his eyes. He thought about his life. About Earth and everything he had lost. About the months he had spent with Yuna. About the stories and the games. And the small moments of happiness. He did not regret any of it. If he had to do it all again, he would make the same choice. He would walk into that forgotten room. He would sit down with the lonely princess. He would become her father. Some things were worth dying for. Hours passed. The cell grew colder. Tejo waited. Then, in the deepest part of the night, the door opened. Tejo looked up, expecting guards. Expecting Drekenol with his cruel smile. But it was not them. It was the Empress. Valra stood in the doorway of the cell. She was alone. No guards, no servants. Just her, in simple white robes, looking nothing like the powerful ruler he had seen on the throne. She looked almost human. Te-Dasho stood up slowly. He did not know what to say. Velra stepped into the cell. The door closed behind her. I could not sleep, she said. Her voice was different, softer, tired. Tejo said nothing. I kept thinking about what you said. About why you did it. She paused. About why I did not. She walked closer, stopping a few feet from him. I have been Empress for 40 years. I have ruled over billions. I have made life and death decisions without hesitation. But I could not be a mother to one small child. She sat down on the stone floor. Something that Tejo never would have expected from the most powerful being in the galaxy. Sit, she said. Tejo sat down across from her. They looked at each other in the dim light. Tell me about her, Velra said. Tell me about my daughter. Tejo was surprised by the request. But he answered honestly. She is kind. Even after everything she has been through, she is kind. She cares about others. She worries about the servants who are afraid of her. She asks if I am tired after cleaning all day. Velra listened silently. She is smart. She learns quickly. She remembers every story I tell her. She asks questions that make me think. She wants to understand everything. What else? She is brave. She knows that being with me is dangerous, but she does it anyway. She runs toward love even when everyone tells her to hide from it. Tejo paused. She has your eyes. Not the color, but the strength. When she looks at you, you feel like she sees everything. Velra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was barely a whisper. I was afraid of her. Tejo looked at her in surprise. Her father was a traitor. He tried to overthrow me. When he failed, I had him executed. But Yuna was already born. She had his eyes. Those golden eyes that looked at me with his face. She closed her eyes. Every time I looked at her, I saw him. I saw my failure. My weakness. So I put her away. I convinced myself that she was better off forgotten. She was not better off. She was suffering. I know that now. Velra opened her eyes. I know that because of you. She looked directly at Tejo. You are a human. A slave. You have no power. No status. Nothing. And yet you gave my daughter something I never could. You gave her love. It is not complicated, Tejo said. Love is simple. Children just need someone to care. Someone to listen. Someone to be there. It is not simple for me. Maybe it should be. Velra smiled slightly. It was strange on her face, like a muscle she had forgotten how to use. You are brave, human. No one speaks to me this way. I am going to die tomorrow. I have nothing to lose. About that. Velra stood up. Come with me. Taeho hesitated. This could be a trick. She could be leading him to an early execution, but something in her eyes told him to trust her. He followed. They walked through the dark halls of the palace. No guards stopped them. No servants appeared. It was like the entire building was a sleep dot. Finally, they reached a familiar hallway. The east wing, the forgotten part of the palace dot, and at the end of the hallway, the door to Yuna's room. Velra opened it. Inside, Yuna was curled up on her bed, crying in her sleep. Her small body shook with each sob. Even unconscious, she was suffering. Taeho rushed to her side. He knelt by the bed and touched her shoulder gently. Yuna, wake up. Her golden eyes opened. For a moment, she did not seem to believe what she was seeing. Appa? She whispered. I am here. Yuna threw herself into his arms, crying harder than before. Appa, I thought they killed you. I thought you were gone. I am here. I am right here. They held each other while Velra watched from the doorway. The Empress saw her daughter. Really saw her. The way she clung to this human. The way she called him Appa with such love and relief. The way she trusted him completely. This was what a parent should be. Velra had armies. She had power. She had an empire. But this human had something more valuable. He had her daughter's heart. Yuna, Velra said softly. Yuna looked up at her mother. Fear crept back into her eyes. It is all right, Velra said. I am not going to hurt him. You are not? Velra walked closer and knelt down next to them. It was the first time she had ever knelt beside her daughter. I have made many mistakes, she said. I was not a good mother to you. I was afraid and cold, and I let you suffer alone. I am sorry. Yuna stared at her. An apology from the Empress was unheard of. Empresses did not apologize, but mothers did. This human, Velra continued, did what I should have done. He loved you when I could not. He became your family when I refused to be. She looked at Taeho. For that, I owe him a debt that I can never repay. Taeho said nothing. He just held Yuna tighter. The law says you should die, Velra said. But laws can change. I am the Empress. My word becomes law. She stood up and spoke with the authority of a ruler. From this day forward, the human Taeho is no longer a slave. He is granted freedom and citizenship in the empire. He will remain in the palace as the official guardian of Princess Yuna. Anyone who harms him will answer to me. Yuna's eyes went wide. Mother, you mean it? I mean it. Taeho felt tears running down his face. He was not going to die. He could stay with Yuna. They would not be separated. Thank you, he said. Thank you. Velra looked at him with those silver eyes. Do not thank me. I am only fixing what I broke. Take care of my daughter. Be the parent I failed to be. I will. I promise. Velra turned to leave. But before she reached the door, Yuna called out, Mother. Velra stopped. Will you come visit sometimes? Will you tell me stories too? The Empress was silent for a long moment. Taeho could see something changing in her face. The coldness was cracking. Something warmer was trying to come through. I would like that, Velra said finally. I do not know any stories. But perhaps you could teach me. Yuna smiled. It was the biggest smile Taeho had ever seen on her face. Appa knows the best stories. He can teach both of us. Velra almost smiled, almost. Then we will learn together. She left the room, closing the door behind her. Yuna and Taeho sat in silence for a moment. Then Yuna looked up at him with shining golden eyes. Appa, I am not alone anymore. No, my daughter. You are not alone. You have me. And now, maybe, you have your mother too. Do you think she will really change? Taeho thought about it carefully. I think she wants to try. That is more than she has ever done before. And trying is the first step. Yuna nodded slowly. Then she yawned. The day had been long and exhausting. Can you tell me a story before I sleep? Taeho laughed softly. Of course. Which one? The rabbit. Tell me about the rabbit who wanted to reach the moon. Taeho settled on the bed beside her. Yuna curled up against him, her head on his shoulder. Once upon a time, he began, there was a small rabbit who dreamed of touching the moon. By the time he finished the story, Yuna was asleep. Her face was peaceful. No more nightmares. No more tears. Taeho looked at his daughter. His unexpected, precious, wonderful daughter. He had lost everything when the Kelvari came to Earth. His home. His freedom. His old life. But he had found something new. Something better. He had found family. And that was worth everything. Outside the window. The stars of the Empire shone bright. Somewhere among them, Earth still existed. Maybe one day, Taeho would see it again. Maybe he would take Yuna there, show her the blue skies and green trees and the moon that rabbits dreamed of touching. But that was a story for another day. For now, he was exactly where he needed to be, home.